Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another great webinar session that we have lined up. And today's session is especially exciting because for people who have joined us in the past, they know while we focused a lot in the past on retail and physical channels. Today's session is really shifting gears and really focusing on how to explore the world of e-commerce and explore how Pakistani products can now scale through e-commerce in Canada and in vastly the North American market. And for this e-commerce masterclass, we're very thrilled to welcome Arhem Rana and Saad Khan, founders of Lanstar Supply, which is a Canadian e-commerce and distribution company, and also co-founders of ItemIQ, which is an extension of that and focused on e-commerce intelligence platform to make this journey easy. They're both young entrepreneurs we met at the accelerator at the University of Waterloo, mashallah, doing great things and making real waves in the e-commerce space. So today we have lots to learn from them. And without further ado, I would love to actually, pass the floor to Aram and Saad and let them introduce themselves and take it from there. So welcome, Aram, welcome, Saad, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. My name is Arhem, and my partner Saad's also here. So yeah,
Hey,
essentially, Sohaib introduced us. So we work together for an e-commerce company. It's we started together, and that kind of took us to build ItemIQ, which is our e-commerce software, which we will also touch into a little bit. And yeah, the purpose of the presentation is just to help people learn about e-commerce and a brief introduction on what it is and what the options are when it comes to the e-commerce landscape in Canada. And I think Saad might want to add on to that.
assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. We're excited to essentially give you a deep dive into e-commerce, the basics, and hopefully in the Q&A section, it can help bring some clarity for any questions that you guys have. And we're really excited to chat.
Yeah. So whether you're joining from Canada or anywhere in between, we're going to try to keep it around 45 minutes maximum. And then at the end of the presentation, we will also do a little bit of a question and answer session. So we can go to the next slide. So as I said, I've already introduced myself, but I run Lanstar Supply, a Canadian e-commerce and distribution company. We consider ourselves an agency that helps and a logistics company that sources products and helps brands manage their Amazon channel. And ItemIQ is intertwined with that operation because it's basically our software that helps us run the entire warehouse. It helps us run the import, export, and the entire supply chain end to end for Landstar. Next slide, yeah. So the reason e-commerce we believe is really important is because it's worth it, right? There's over $6 trillion a year being spent online. That's a global number. In Canada, Pakistan, USA, every e-commerce market is growing. And a buyer for your products is always like one search away. So when you have a solid e-commerce presence, you have the opportunity to really it's really considered free marketing, because even if someone doesn't know about your brand, just being on top of search results and being at the in front of the right people at the right time can really help you expose your product. And when it comes to Amazon, their independent sellers account for over 60% of all Amazon revenue. So that's people like you and us, like the independent sellers. It's a big part of the Amazon business, because and that's really good, because that means you guys are important and there's a really good opportunity. So when it comes to Pakistan, from our research, we realized that there's a lot of export grade goods that have opportunity in Canada, and these include textiles, leather, sports goods, surgical equipments, rice, and handicrafts. So it's not the product that you really have to focus on. I feel like any product that you have could do well in Canada, but it's more about bridging your product to the Canadian e-commerce landscape through, in our opinion, I think Amazon and Walmart.ca are very good platforms to start. And maybe so I can add on to this as well.
Yeah, I think in general, like the e-commerce seems pretty complicated, but like we're pretty fortunate to have platforms out there that kind of are built for people that are sellers. And yeah, I think we'll provide you some information. We chose Amazon just because it's a huge, incredibly huge market. People are already searching for products every single day, and there's a great opportunity as well because like we have access to products that are internationally available, and there's customers that are like in Canada that are Pakistani that are looking for these products, and sometimes they can't find them. So there's a great opportunity in being able to source those.
Yeah, I think next slide. This is a little bit of a mind map and plan that we would have for someone who is actually looking to take some action. So we believe there's four steps from your product right now, or even an idea you have, to your first sale. So the first thing obviously would be to do some research and find the demand for your product. There's lots of ways to do this with software that we can recommend later. So that would be the first step. Just making sure that your product or products in your category do have search, like people are searching for them and buying them. That's the first step we would do. The second step would be to pick the right platform. So there's certain platforms we believe are better than others when it comes to e-commerce as a beginner. So for this presentation, I'm gonna refer to two marketplaces, Canada and US, because those are the main two e-commerce marketplaces we believe have the most opportunity in this region. I'm sure Europe does, but that's not really a part of our region, so I'm not too sure about that one. But it does have opportunity. But I think Canada and US is really good. So the platforms that exist in these markets, in these regions, would be the Amazon and Walmart one. And there's eBay does really well as in US, but eBay doesn't do so well in Canada because Canada has a much smaller population, and the population that does do shop on e-commerce in Canada mostly just uses Amazon. But in US, the market's so big that there is a lot of eBay usage as well. So to pick the right platform, it all depends on what your product is. So clothing, for example, does really well on Amazon and Walmart, but something like you can say handicraft products do much better on Amazon than they do on Walmart. And you can honestly, in today's day and age, you can also use AI, just like talk to ChatGPT and just ask it what it thinks, and it's able to actually scrape the results of different forums online and kind of give you some direction. The third step would be to prepare the product. That includes like listings, images, pricing, and compliance, compliance is very important in Canada. So compliance basically is what we consider like the law. Like for Canada, all products have to be in a package with both English and French on the package. And there's companies that can help you with this compliance setup. That's one of the steps for Canada. US also has it, but it's not as strict in US for compliance, and it kind of varies by the state as well. When it comes to images, again, there's many different ways to get those images right, and listings as well. Just creating your listing on the platform, that would be the third product. And launching is just maybe sending in some inventory to we recommend like for Amazon, like sending it to FBA and just do a small batch. Don't go too aggressive and try to figure out your test the waters and just scale from there. I think next slide. I think Saad, you could kind of touch on this one for
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's a lot of different models out there. Again, if you decide to sell products because you really believe in that product and you're like, hey, I think I can turn it around, there's no problem with that. You can use advertising to kind of increase the visibility of that product online. But for our specific model that we've built, we've decided to basically avoid paying any marketing fees by looking for products that are already doing well in the marketplace. So we use ItemIQ as a way to find out if there's actually demand for the product, but we'll show you in the next couple slides as well how you can kind of get an idea if people are looking for the product. And that's also a really good indicator. Just like how making a business, like if you know there's customers out there, you know you have a good business. It's the same way with e-commerce. If you know that there's customers looking for this product, you most likely will be able to find success on the platform. Next slide.
Yeah, you can touch on this as well with
Okay, awesome. So there's a couple different key metrics that we look at when we're kind of investigating a product. So we don't try to guess, right? We're basically trying to verify if there's search volume. So just like when people are searching a term, it might not be the exact product, but for example, if you have a bamboo toothbrush that you're selling and you see people are searching up bamboo toothbrush, that's great. If they're searching up toothbrush but not the bamboo part, you might have to investigate a little bit deeper. But if there is search volume, usually that's a good indicator. The best sellers rank is something that is on the Amazon platform. The lower the value, you can think of it as a ranking as if you're ranked number one, you're the best. So the lower the BSR value or the best seller rank, the more popular that item is. Another good indicator is reviews. So if customers actually really like the product and they're leaving positive reviews, it's a good indicator for other customers to also, it'll verify their purchasing decision. Like if a lot of people really love it and it's rated 5 stars out of 5, most likely people are going to be like, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for, and they'll most likely make the purchase. Another thing too is if you're looking for if you have a new product, or let's say you're not fully sure about its presence on Amazon, you can look at other websites. We've used Reddit before, Quora, and we've looked at different places on the internet just to kind of get an idea and gauge if people still want to purchase this product. And then the last part is matching your edge to the gap, which is like where where do Pakistani products potentially have opportunities in the Canadian market space? So if that's a question that you can investigate for yourself, there might be some opportunity to import products or sell Pakistani brands on the Amazon platform. Next slide. I can do this one as well. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with Miswak. It's a alternative toothbrush, basically, as some of you guys are familiar. You can brush your teeth with this, and it's like a natural chewing stick. And this is a product that we would find in Pakistan, and it's actually being sold on Amazon. And there's a little bit of information that we have here. It shows that there's estimated 124 sales a month, and it's generating about $2,000 in revenue. And this is great because this kind of information can tell you if you're able to source this product, you might be able to become a seller and actually source it, post it on the platform, and become a seller. And then you can also see what kind of fees are available a little bit below there. It shows profit, the return on investment. Right there, it says buy cost. It says $0, but that's where you would input the value of what you're paying to your supplier for that product. So if your margins still show that you can generate revenue or generate profit on this product, then it makes sense to actually make the commitment to purchase this product, start the relationship with the supplier, and post it on the Amazon platform. And another interesting thing is that, like, since we were doing this for thousands of products all the time, we actually invented ItemIQ to kind of shorten the time that we spend on looking at all these metrics, and we just get simple a green flag or a red flag basically in the app, which says, hey, there's a green flag, you're going to be profitable, there's demand for this product, it makes sense to purchase this and list it as one of our products. So yeah, this is kind of some of the metrics that we use. I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the mistakes that we want to avoid. And again, Arham's been doing this for quite a while. I joined a few years late into the game, but even for myself, it's quite a challenging thing to manage the logistics and basically set everything up to sell your products online. So there's a lot of mistakes that we've kind of run into and things that we've kind of learned from, and I'm happy to share those with you guys. And in the next slide, we can talk a little bit about, like, so he was mentioning that right now on Amazon, it's clear that we have the largest reach. They have the biggest customer base in Canada for in the online space. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Etsy as well. This is where you would find handmade products, people that are independent sellers trying to get their business and brand off the ground. This is a great place for people that may be selling dresses or textiles. And so that is an excellent place to search as well. And eBay, as you mentioned earlier, it's not a terrible place to start, but in the Canadian space, it's not as powerful it is as in the United States, and it's harder to find some of those winners on there. And then one of the great options that we're allowed with these days is Shopify. So if you decide to, you can actually build your own store, your own website, and advertise your products to lead customers directly to your site. And then you can fulfill the shipments on your own. So if they decide to buy a product, you would just simply go to your local, Canada Post, and you can mail it directly to the customer. So those are some of the options that you have when it comes to where your product should live. So I'll talk about some of the mistakes that really kill products, right? One of them is, like, again, we're in a very visual world now. We spend a lot of time on Instagram and TikTok, and a lot of advertising that we see is very visual. So when we see poor photos, that usually makes a listing look very bad. On the Amazon platform, there's something called A+ listings, and I'll show you that in a minute. So another thing is that we ignoring fees, not like if we have pricing that's there and we're not taking into account the shipping, the duties, the commissions, the cost of the product, the Amazon fees associated. If you don't understand the numbers behind your operation, you might be selling products and you might be losing money. So you want to make sure that you understand the pricing structure for your products. Another thing is, like, as you scale, like, obviously when you start out, you don't want to jump and start doing all 5 platforms at once, especially because you have to manage those platforms correctly. So for us, we decided to double down, focus on the Amazon platform, and alhamdulillah, we've been able to scale out and get into the Walmart e-commerce side as well. And we're happy to answer any questions for anybody that's looking to expand into different markets. But yeah, it's probably best to just start with one.
One thing I would add here is the importance of compliance. Like, I think I've already mentioned that, but me and Saad actually had situation of like a year back where a lot of our listings were not compliant based on Canada bilingual English French law. So before, like, one thing I would recommend to every beginner is, before you like get really scaled out, just go through like your listings and your operations and just make sure that everything is compliant, because it's much easier to do that in the beginning than when we had to do it with so many listings, it was a lot more headache because we lost a lot of listings and we had to bring them back while running this operation. So I would not like skip compliance whatsoever. Like it seems like a very boring task and it's not that fun, but it's really important.
Yeah, 100%. The compliance was definitely quite a challenge. The last two things that I would say, like the big mistakes, is one, not having the right category. So understanding where your product actually sits in the market. Like if it's the miswalk, like that we were mentioning earlier, you're going to be targeting people that are trying to buy a toothbrush, right? You're not going to make that like a novelty item for that's like a like something that's like a heritage item or a cultural item. You would still put it in a competing market with toothbrushes because that's where the volume of people are searching. And then the last thing is having no fulfillment plan. You don't want to open an account and sell a product, but you don't have any infrastructure to actually send to the Amazon fulfillment center. So I would say my best recommendation here is as you're building out this business, as you're doing any other business, you have a business plan, you need a business plan as well for e-commerce. And that includes doing the research, right? Understanding, is your product going to sell? Is your product actually wanted by people in the marketplace? And how do you set it up for success so that it's visually appealing and it's in the right categories and you understand the laws that are in the country that you're in so that you can survive and have success on that platform. Next slide. So I'll touch a little bit about what you can do. So some questions that we hear is, can we do this from Pakistan, right? So technically, yes. So Amazon Global, like you can be a seller and you can be anywhere in the world as an individual. You do need your passport and you need to set up like a bank account that can receive the money that you get. You also need like the Amazon account, which is about $40 a month Canadian, I believe.
Yeah.
And you also need to just set up the banking so that you're able to receive the payments, which happen, I would say, probably every 2 weeks or so, like once you sell your products. Um, and if you're anywhere else in the world, like again, you don't have to be from Pakistan. You could be in England, for example. There's very popular communities for selling all over the world. And even me and Arhem have had talks about, expanding into the United States and England. And like once you start the process of doing e-commerce, you realize you really are in a global market. If your products are wanted, say across the world, there is people that will even purchase your product to sell over there. So it just depends. And again, this all comes down to doing your research on your product and your market. The next slide.
I can kind of talk about the
Sure.
platform more. I think you already talked about this one, right? I
Yeah,
think
you can dive into it. Yep.
yeah. So I have a lot of experience with listings. So prepare your product for the platform. So I think this one is one of the most important parts because no matter how good your product is, if it's not presented properly on the platform, that's when things get a little bit messy and you lose a lot of opportunity. And this is exactly what we do at Landstar is like we help brands manage this part of the entire business because it's not as straightforward as other channels. Like there's a lot of things specifically for e-commerce that you have to keep in mind, and we can talk about that. So next slide, yeah. So like I said, your listing is the most important part when it comes to the conversion. You can think of it like a salesperson. So the title has to have the keywords, and what keywords are is basically they're words that trigger that listing to come at the first or second page depending on relevance. So for example, let's say you have the seawalk sticks, right? And these are organic, for example. So if you write the word organic in your title, then for when someone searches up organic of sticks, this one will be the first one or second one. So it's really important to know your product and what keywords might be relevant. and you have to incorporate those keywords in your listing, in the title, in the description, and in the bullet points. It's recommended. So the bullet points is the second thing. Is it comes right below the title. It's basically the box that you see on Amazon, around halfway down the page, and it just it tells you the customer about your product, like the benefits, the features, and what does it do for the buyer. So here you can also incorporate keywords. In fact, you should incorporate keywords. And I would keep these to like 4 to 6 max. So 4 to 6 bullet points. And you should incorporate keywords and just uh, go into detail about your product. And one last thing for bullet points is you should try to also answer any questions that people might have about your product that you think comes up a lot. So maybe someone might ask, is the box recyclable, or is the box organic or something? You should write that. If it's a common question, you should write that in your bullet points. That's the third thing, for at least for Amazon, is A plus content and description. So A plus content, basically, if you look at these two images, these images you can actually add onto the listing. So usually without A plus content, you're limited to just 6 images and bullet points and title. If you enroll your brand in brand registry, it's you have access to A plus content, then you can you have more freedom to be more creative with your listing. So we always recommend brands to start there. And backend search terms. So essentially, there's a lot of keywords that you might not be familiar with that people might be searching for your brand. And again, we use ItemIQ to kind of look at these terms to see what people are searching and what they're kind of, how they're ending up on your product, and what your customers like about your product, what they dislike. All of these things might be hidden research, but there's ways to get that information for yourself. And one last thing we would say for this is you want to write your descriptions and your titles and all of your brand themes in the buyer's words, not your words. So you might know a lot about your manufacturing, what factory it's manufactured in, the ingredients, but if it's not relevant to the buyer, if the buyer wouldn't really ask about that, then you don't really have to add that. So one thing we would kind of recommend is always think about the buyer, like put yourself in their shoes, and then kind of go from there. Next slide. Yeah, so another thing is people buy with their eyes. So images in our experience have been extremely beneficial, because as you can see, an image can have a picture and words, right? Like you can do a lot of things in the image that you might even not even need to do too much research. I mean, you might not have to go into too much detail on the bullet points when your images are really good and they have a little bit of words. You don't want too many words on your image, but an image is probably the most important part of a listing. So we recommend like a white background. You want to have like an image on a white background, and possibly with your brand theme and brand colors. Um, you want to show the product in its real size so buyers know what they get. So we've had experiences where a buyer thought a product which was much smaller than it is, and when they receive it, they kind of say, "Hey, like this is like not what we thought," and that can result in a lot of returns, which you don't want at all. So it's really important to just be mindful of how you're portraying your product and make sure there's no potential confusion. And the detail and infographic part. So you want close-up images. You want a couple of key features in your image. You want the bullet points in the image as well, if you can. Just answer like 1 or 2 questions. And we could give you guys an example at the end of like a really good infographic as well. Yeah. So know your landed cost before you launch. So yeah, this is one of the most important parts as well when it comes to the profitability. So I would actually spend some time just to kind of do your numbers. I know that like for brands, this is not like the main, it's not the fun part, but you still have to do it, right? So I would go through your numbers and just add all of your costs. So I think Saad showed you guys a calculator that has your profit. What you would add to that cost is basically your freight, your duties, your manufacturing, employees, your factory, utilities. Just really get your numbers in check before you scale. And we made that mistake, right? Like we scaled really heavily without really knowing our numbers, and we kind of are still struggling with that a little bit. But yeah, like I would recommend you to know your numbers before you scale, rather than how we did it. Like we kind of just scaled, and now we're like, going through old records and trying to find out what happened. So one recommendation I would have is just really get your numbers in check, and know them know them in your head. Like if someone asks you what your numbers are, like what's your duty fees, what's your freight, you should know that. As like a brand, you should have that information. And a couple of KPIs to know would be your break even, your freight, your duties, platform fees, marketing, and we can give you guys another a more detailed list if you need. You can ask us. Yeah, I think Felix should go into this one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So there's parts of the business that are fun, obviously. So like making listings and finding products and talking to brands and talking to customers, those are always fun. The less fun part is being able to make sure that you're certified and you're following all the rules. But it is one of the necessary parts in order to sell on all these platforms. So it's good to do your homework. So the one that's a little bit specific towards Amazon is something called brand registry, which basically stops all the other sellers. So on the Amazon platform, there could be 50 sellers on one product. If you go to some of the more popular items, like Energizer batteries or Tide to Go, you might see that there's probably 30 people selling this product. And what it means is that they haven't done brand registry, which will control how many people are actually able to sell the product. There's different types of fulfillment as well. There's you shipping it yourself. Then there's 3PL, which is you have someone else do all of the third party logistics. And then there's something called FBA, which is something that we do. And FBA means fulfilled by Amazon, which means that we'll basically pick and pack everything and then we send it to the Amazon fulfillment center and then they ship it out. So one of the big things that, like, again, Arhem was mentioning earlier was that there was a big sweep that happened in Canada where a lot of products that were not compliant for bilingual um, labeling were actually at risk of being taken down. And I think at the time, I was like over 70 plus products that we had in our own inventory that were at risk of being taken down. So just as like a, learn from our mistakes kind of moment, it's good to kind of take in an audit of the products that you have in your own catalog and understand which ones are at a little bit of a higher risk just because of, let's say, there's no certifications. Again, there's products, you might be selling a product that has a claim on it, like this is a weight loss product, but you might not be allowed to actually say that without a certain certification, right? So understanding what you have going on is very important. And also another thing to note is that as you're selling on the platform, these marketplaces, they might not catch these things in the beginning. They might actually allow you to sell a product for 3 to 4 months without actually having that certification being brought up. So do your homework, do your research before you start selling, just so that you don't face disruptions down the road, which are much more costly. Can we go to the next slide? So we want to as we kind of wrap up this chat with you guys, we want to talk about the things that we can do and talk like what we can do today to kind of get you started. So we'll jump into the next slide. So if we were to go back in time, this is what we would do to find out, how to get this off the ground. So one, we would pick one product. So I would not just pick an entire catalog. I would focus on one product that you believe that has a strong market fit. Number like the second part is validate the demand. So search it yourself on Amazon, search that product, try to find that product that you're trying to sell and see what is out there. Does it have reviews? What is the ranking of that product? Do you even find the product on there? That should give you enough information to, and if it doesn't work, if you don't see that there's demand out there, just pick another product because there's billions of products out there, guys. You don't have to kind of be stuck on one. The next thing is choosing a platform. You can choose to sell it on Etsy if you have homemade products. You can choose to sell it on Amazon if it's a branded product. If you need help, you can also always message us as well. Number four, we were talking earlier about the listings, making it pretty, making it visually appealing. Get those white photos, or sorry, the white background photos. And if you are struggling to find a photography box or something, AI is absolutely incredible. And I've used it a few times myself to basically create a perfect product photo just by asking ChatGPT. So you can do that as well. Number five is writing the listing. As Arham mentioned earlier, you want to make sure the keywords are there, the bullets are there, and we're talking from the buyer's perspective. Six, you want to understand all your costs so that you can understand what your margin's going to be and what kind of profit you're going to take home. The next thing is deciding what kind of fulfillment you want to do. If you're just starting up, I wouldn't recommend doing FBA because there's a lot of logistics that you need to manage. So you could do it with a 3PL, but also understand that that will affect the costs that you have for the product. So make sure that you double check your costs after you've decided which fulfillment route you're going to take. And then the last thing is launch product. But also, one thing that we've learned from doing this for a few years is that we have to constantly iterate and improve what's going on. There's never been a point where we've kind of set it and forget it. You can just imagine that doesn't exist in this business. You have to kind of be proactive. I would say don't be in the reactive state because that means there's already problems. But make sure you're looking at your stuff weekly, reviewing some of the things, thinking about how you can improve your own sales. That's a good mindset to go into. Next slide. So I'll go through this pretty quickly here. You want to make sure that you're able to get your first orders out. If you're doing FBA, you can Amazon will handle all of your customer inquiries and anybody that wants to do a review. You can also request reviews to increase if you have a new product and you're trying to get more reviews on there, it will help you with that. Another thing is you can do marketing. There's nothing that says that you can't market. You can market on different platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Google. You can advertise your product and then have the link for the purchase put on Amazon or Etsy or eBay, whatever makes the most sense for where your platform or your product is. Another thing too is that for specifically, you won't find emails on the Amazon platform very easily for your customers, just the way the platform is built. But when you have your own Shopify store, you will be able to, have access to your customers. You can let them know there's a sale coming. You can let them know that you have a new product. So that always helps as well in, getting additional customers to purchase. And one of the things that you want to do is you want to also like scale deliberately. You want to think about how you're going to build these businesses. And one of them is being able to create like an affiliate program or have people recommend that product. Next slide. So we'll talk to you a little bit about some case studies that we have. So I'll go into the first one here was Monin, which was a great partner that we had. So essentially they are a syrup company. They make syrups that you add to your drinks. They're very popular. You would probably find them in a lot of places where you can get custom drinks. I believe it might have been Tim Hortons used them as well. And we picked up 120 SKUs from this company to sell on the Amazon platform. And this was one of our biggest scaling moments. We actually were doing about 2 pallets a week at our peak, which was about $25,000 of inventory a month, which was really strong for Canadian Amazon sellers. And this is where we learned about things in our iterative process to improve. and we realized that replenishment was a big thing. As stock numbers kind of declined, we wanted to create a system where we are creating new purchase orders, finding out what the sales velocity was, and being able to go ahead and match that the next time that we ship to Amazon, so that we are constantly being able to supply the customers with this product as they're being purchased. Um, Another one of the case studies I wanted to talk about was staying ahead of compliance, which was this was the one that we were mentioning earlier. So there's about 120 listings that were at risk of being taken down because they were non-bilingual. So they didn't have French on them. And some of them to this day still are not bilingual. And that's just because the manufacturer never made the packaging with French on it. That happens when you are importing products from all over the world. So one of the things that we did at the time was we did a full audit of all of our products. We looked at everything and we kind of identified the ones that were at the most risk. And we decided to um we made executive decisions on whether we were going to carry those products or not, based on the demand, based on if it's worth getting stranded at Amazon. And we were able to navigate this entire thing without any major disruptions. So as we were doing our audit, we still had to send in products. We still had to manage all of our inventory. And luckily, at the time, we did not have any major disruptions. And that actually spawned this idea for us to have listing health and compliance in our app, and ItemIQ. So now we are doing kind of preventative maintenance going forward. So we know which ones are at risk uh, at all times. So it's a lot easier. Before, we had Excel spreadsheet after Excel spreadsheet, and it's very, very easy to get lost. But ItemIQ kind of helped us stay organized with everything there. Another one was Medallion Milk. It was a completely messy brand when we got it. There was tons of sellers. One of the first things that we did after we got brand registry is that we just started kicking sellers off, which, I mean, at the time, a lot of people were kind of confused because we were doing what we needed to do, but the brand didn't understand, and a lot of people that were involved didn't understand. And that just kind of added to this idea that you need to have constant communication with the brands that you're managing. You want to be able to be a successful account manager for them, and they need to have trust with you. So the communication, we learned, was a very important part. After this process, we doubled the sales by just, getting rid of the sellers that were not the right ones. And we just made sure that they were compliant by getting rid of all of the uncompliant listings that were there, which luckily with brand registry helped out a lot. So that was one of the big ones as well. The last one that I'm going to talk about is Grandma's Secret. They also had a similar issue. They didn't have any real brand market structure. And there was tons of sellers and tons of listings. So we kind of took a little bit of control over that. And now we're at a place where we're trying to get channel ownership. It's still in process, but we're trying to position ourselves as a retail partner and not just another reseller. And that's where we found a lot of success lately. Is you want to actually bring value to these brands. You want to actually bring value to these distributors, and you want to be a partner as opposed to just offering them a service or working as an agency that just charges them to do a service. And I'll just talk about, just lastly, some of the numbers we're really proud of. We have over $1 million in annual inventory purchasing. We send about 8,000 units a month to Amazon. We have over 250 different products we list on the platform, and it's growing every single week. We have a 5,000 square foot warehouse that we're doing a lot of our operations out of, and we've automated tons of different aspects of our business. We've increased our team size as well, and we have a wide variety of additional skills that we've picked up in the last few years that have made us definitely a force to be reckoned with in the industry. So ItemIQ is our new launch that we have. one of the big things is that we were doing a lot of manual catalogs, and now we don't need to. We've built our own tool that basically will give you the ROI, like I mentioned earlier. It'll give you the return on investment. It'll give you a lot of additional information to help you with your decision making, which is a very important aspect. But this will basically give you our mindset when it comes to selling on the platform. So that's Item IQ. And again, you can ask us any questions about Item IQ or Landstar. But that's basically our our spiel here about Landstar and Item IQ, about e-commerce and selling products online.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Aram. Thank you, Saad. This was very informative. I think with that content and with those best practices, I believe there must be a lot of questions the audience might want to ask here. So I'll open the floor here. I see Heather Saab has actually raised his hand. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Vivek. This is Heather. First of all, Saad and Aram, that was a very good presentation. I really liked it. It was knowledgeable and good quality content. Thank you for this. Uh, I live in Calgary, Alberta, and I just moved to Canada 18 months ago from Pakistan. My operations are a bit different, and my query would be different. So I'm just wondering how Landstar can help me out in a B2B scenario, because I've got a farm in Pakistan, and we specialize in powdered spices like red chili powder, turmeric powder, onion, garlic powder, and all these stuff. So all of my products are accredited, lab tested. And, I know about the aflatoxin levels, so everything related to the quality of the work, so that is tested. But I am looking for a dealer distributor in Canada with whom I can collaborate. I can just sell my product to him, and then he can take care of the retail or B2C part. So the question, does Landstar fit up into this picture for me, and can I benefit from this?
I can take this question. So whenever like we have a inquiry, we just have like a certain SOP. So we would first hop on like a call with you and just go through your products, show you what we find. Like we would go through Item IQ, we would go through some basic research, and you would still learn a lot about your product regardless of the outcome. And then from there, we can show you some gaps and whether we can help you out in those certain problems. We do work with brands from Pakistan already, so I don't think it's like a new thing for us. I'm sure we could definitely work something out, but yeah, it would just be like first we do research and we find out whether you're even on the listings or on the platforms we service. If not, that's definitely a really good opportunity. And one thing I would recommend you is if you're currently not in retail, like if you are not in stores like the big box retailers, like we do have some distributors we can recommend you. I always recommend starting there first. It's easier to, I guess, manage if you're doing it
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
And if not, if you're not there, then we could help you with that. Like I said, we do have connections and the supply chain. But if you want to go straight to the e-commerce, then yeah, we would just I'll just maybe reach out with them with my contact details. We could hop on a call and go from there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Aral. I'll just contact you after the call.
Yeah,
So
for
Thank
sure.
you.
is this the best? Is there a best way to call you? No, do you share the email or phone number? How
Um,
do I reach you?
so I'll just I'll PM you my details and
Aram,
you
Okay.
can.
if you're okay, do you want to share your email or best contact
Yeah,
information here on the chat so that everyone can have it?
that would be
Sure,
great.
yeah, no problem.
Also, if you guys go to landstarsupply.com, there's um there's a form on the website that will ask you a few
Oh,
questions, and it might help kind of organize the inquiry. And we get all of those and we respond to all of those as well.
yeah, that's a really good idea,
Thank
actually.
you. Thank you, Todd. Thank you.
Awesome. Altamash bhai.
Thank you, Saad and Arhem. When I first met you, the energy that I saw, in Waterloo was amazing. But this talk, I think, we've been doing this for the last almost 2 years now. I think it's the most wonderful, most informative talk that we've had. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for your time and for your effort, because most of the time people are not able to explain properly end to end, the A to Z of how to start and how to end. And you have done a fantastic job. So I'm very, very grateful on behalf of the Consulate General. It's indeed a big pleasure and honor that you spent time with us and did this very informative talk. And I'm for sure, people joined today. I think it was a good attendance, but we'll post it on our website and it will become an asset for our community in the future. So thank you so much to
Thank
both
you.
of you.
For sure.
Thank you.
If you have any other questions, we can take them now. I think the talk was so awesome that there are no questions.
Yes.
I think just pretty much nailed
People
it.
understand
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If anyone has questions like they don't want to ask right now, you could also I send my email in the chat, so you can always email me. And
Can I
I
like
think
Saad said, you
I
can
think
also
can I
I think there's
can
somebody
I
yeah.
can
asking.
I say, yeah? So
Yeah. Yes.
this is Mohit from Mahi Seafood. Uh, Again, like Altamash said just now, amazing. You really explained it in minute details so that people can follow through the whole process. Thank you so much for your time today. I have one question when it comes to e-commerce. For frozen products, do you have any experience in handling the fulfillment part of the frozen? Is there anywhere you can point me to? Because the front end of the store and all that, that's okay. But when it comes to fulfillment, and if you don't have a shelf stable product, but you have a frozen box to move, is there any experience you have? Is there any supply chain that I can use? So if you can just share your experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So our warehouse, we don't have a reefer unit. Like it's only dry goods. So what I would recommend you to do is, are you looking for only storage or also freight?
No, I'm not looking for storage. I've got plenty of storage for storing the product. My problem is once I want to maintain the cold chain to the last mile, right? So from my storage,
So
I want to hand over to someone who can take it and deliver. So that
so
last
that would
mile
be the
delivery,
freight.
yeah, the
Yeah,
freight
the
part.
freight. So yeah, like there's lots of carriers that have reefer units. Um, Essentially, what would happen is you get the order. I would just keep it in your storage until it's ready to be shipped. The carrier that has a reefer unit would come to your dock. You would load them up, and they would deliver to the customer in their reefer unit. So essentially, all you need is a reefer truck, someone to either
So
have that or you should get one for your company.
so the problem there is we are talking to B2C, right? So the units shipped
Oh,
are retail units, right? So you might order one, someone else might order one. So when it comes to my pallet movement, that's not a problem. I've got reefer trucks myself, and also I can, if I have over demand, then I can always outsource that. But when it comes to fulfilling individual orders, the Canada Post I can use if it was a shelf stable product, right? They would then do the last mile. But if there are uh, any supply chain which is for retail, like the bites or whatever, but who can cater to the for a frozen product, they
uh,
can carry.
I don't think any so you're looking for SPD, small parcel delivery. I cannot think of any SPD providers that do reefer, to be honest, because yeah, like you said, reefer units are usually B2B, like it goes from one to the other. Once a customer orders one, for you to deliver that frozen, and I cannot think of any. Maybe Saad has thinks so. I think Saad might know someone with reefer units, but again, that's not for B2C. That's for B2B, and it's certainly not for small parcel delivery. But yeah, like I misunderstood. I thought you were asking for B2B carrier fulfillment.
No, thank you so much. No, it's a harder one, but I'm sure somebody will have to look harder, I guess.
Yeah,
But thank
just
you for
yeah. If you do your research, maybe go on ChatGPT or Google AI and just ask it in your
yeah,
region, and
yeah,
it can help you
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Aram, one question for me. You mentioned Etsy, the platform as well, which is specialized in handicrafts and homemade stuff, right? And with Pakistan having, high quality handcrafts goods, uh, what is the structure? Like you went through Amazon providing FBA and all those facilities for like anyone to sell through Amazon. But let's say there's a Pakistani home, like, small scale industry looking to export and sell their handcrafts. What does that world look like for Etsy? Is Etsy more self sufficient that you have to be, or like do they actually provide such a setup as well?
So yeah, Etsy, I don't believe has any. So I think you're asking like if someone is making their own products, when they get an order, do they have to ship it themselves and handle all of that?
Yeah, like how does the logistic piece work for like handcraft goods
So
if they want to sell
logistically,
them?
we always recommend FBA, regardless of where you're selling. You could use FBA because once you send all your like we do the same thing. Once you send all the products to their fulfillment centers, which I think they have like five or
But would
six.
that work even if you're selling on Etsy?
Yeah, because you can actually
Interesting.
sync your inventory, and then essentially when you get an order on Etsy, it automatically goes from your FBA inventory to the customer. And it's much more affordable than any other small parcel delivery carrier in the region, even Canada Post. It's actually like 20% cheaper than Canada Post. So yeah, we always recommend send everything to FBA. Not everything. I mean, I would, but like if you have two channels, I would definitely manage them all through FBA, and you can sync it like with AI and not even AI, other softwares too. It's automatic. Like you get an order on Etsy, it automatically triggers your inventory on FBA and it ships to the customer.
Amazing. That's good to know. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no problem.
I think that's Shaukat. Shaukat, Assalamu alaikum. You're mute.
जी Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Assalamualaikum.
It's a great presentation. So just wanted to say that it was wonderful. You touched many points. So I'm from SDK Global. We basically help consulate and some other clients on custom issues. So you were talking about the landed cost, like the customs and the regulations. So anytime if you need any assistance with regards to the customs, to calculate your landed cost. In my past life, we helped many companies who started their e-commerce businesses in helping them to arrive at the correct landed cost, how much are the duties, the other taxes, because there are so many surtaxes these days, which which caught some people like by surprise. They don't know, or any other regulations to start. Whether or not you can bring a particular product into the country, we can definitely assist.
100%. Do you guys also
Right.
I have a question. Do you guys also do the freight or just the customs clearance?
I work with the 4 freight forwarding companies, so we can even assist in moving this stuff. Even for US, we have a partner company in US who does the US customs clearance, but we are clearing custom brokers licensed by Canada Customs.
Okay.
Shaukat, there was a message by Binash asking for your details. So if you want, feel free to share it.
Yeah,
I believe Binash has a question also. Binash, we'll take your question.
Yeah, hi, assalamu alaikum. My question
Walaikum
is
salam.
from the Sir Shaukat. Yeah, I want to connect with him because we recently shipped our uh, product from the Pakistan and we need the more information regarding in a Canada custom port.
yeah. So I shared my email address and the website address.
Mhm.
Please feel free to get in touch. I will definitely assist.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Actually, one last question, Alam, for you. Given like the changing landscape between like US and Canada also, like what are some things you're seeing for like sellers who are actually targeting both markets? And just like on top of your head, like some things to watch out for with the new tax and like everything in the grid right now, like what are some things for sellers to keep in mind who are targeting both US and Canada right now, just to be mindful of?
For sure, yeah. So that's a really good question. The number one thing I've seen by far the most hurtful is the border clearance. So I've heard stories where people are shipping like a whole truckload into the US with and I think maybe SJK probably has better information on this, but I've seen people ship entire truckloads to US, and they have customs and everything paperwork, but the border is still holding their inventory, possibly turning it back. And it's even worse when it's coming from China. Like I've also heard stories people are shipping containers from China, and the border protection is just holding it at the border for, I guess, like 2 weeks. Uh, Maybe some small detail in the paper is wrong, and it's getting sent back, or they're incurring lots and lots of fees for storage or whatever. But when it comes to tariffs, I don't believe there's any active tariffs as of right now. I think there was a
Yeah.
pause on that.
Gray area. Yeah.
It's a gray area, yeah. Like sometimes you might get hit with some, and then they get reimbursed, or maybe some other products do have it. But as far as I'm know, they did pause the tariffs on Canada for some time.
So just to clarify, even let's say I'm an Amazon seller right now, which is sending maybe using FBA, but even if I'm using FBA right now, I need to do follow up research and due diligence and update my things and take care of that headache on my end as well. Or FBA takes care of the US Canada issue as well for me.
No, so FBA US and FBA Canada are two separate entities. So there is something called remote fulfillment, but I don't recommend that because they haven't really figured out remote fulfillment. So when you want to send out to you can look into it yourself, anyone that has questions about remote fulfillment, but I don't recommend it. But yeah, so when you want to send to Amazon US, it's a whole different ball game, right? So you have to take care of the logistics, the customs, the import, the export, the paperwork. And once it's in the US, you have to also be a company in the US that can take ownership of it, that has a tax ID number, and then the entire logistics landscape in the US, shipping it to multiple different fulfillment centers. That all has to be engineered from scratch. That's not something that I've seen anyone be able to easily duplicate.
Okay, good
And
to know.
and me and Sad are still working on that. I've not done it yet ourselves.
No, so to confirm, what I understand is deal with each of the businesses separately and manage it accordingly. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe there's another question.
Yeah, hi. So what would you say about the dropship with all the regulations and the tariffs and this and that? So is dropship still works smoothly, or there are problems in there?
Are you asking about drop shipping on Amazon or just drop
On
shipping as a
Amazon.
full?
On
Yeah,
no.
I on Amazon I don't recommend drop shipping at all, because you have to understand Amazon's prime delivery requirement is 1 day. It's it's very difficult to and if you're doing FBM, which is fulfilled by merchant, then it's maximum, I think, 48 hours. Drop shipping will take like 6-7 days, especially if you're drop shipping from like China or Pakistan or something like that. Then it's gonna take a long time, right? But when it comes to drop shipping as a fulfillment method, if you're doing it like for your Shopify customers, I would still recommend you to keep your drop shipping time less than 5 days, like 4-3 days if you can, and try to keep the drop shipping regional or even national. I don't recommend global drop shipping. It just takes so long, and
Yeah, sure.
consumers nowadays are used to like same day delivery, same hour. So asking someone to wait 7-8 days, like they might think it's not going to show up, and they might just do a chargeback or refund request.
No,
So
absolutely.
the hybrid way where product is also in Amazon fulfillment for prime deliveries and for Shopify customers. So it's a hybrid method. But my question is more specific to the regulations and the uncertainty of all these tariffs in and out and all of that. Is there any restriction on that, or there is no restriction?
Wait, so like when you talk about Amazon fulfillment, like if you have a
So
Shopify.
for example, my product is in their fulfillment center for any, but also I drop ship, right? For other like Shopify accounts that I have, we can
Oh,
we can use drop ship.
So
But
I we oh sorry.
the
Go ahead.
concern I had was if there is a drop ship. So, for example, the model it's hybrid. It's not coming from China. It has got a center in Canada, center in US, and as far as Amazon is concerned, it's all within their fulfillment center. So I don't use dropship for Amazon customers. It's because many people, not even Prime, but otherwise also it's very quick when it comes through Amazon, right? But for product which is sitting in Canada, if I have to move to US, to dropship to US,
Mm.
will that go through the same border crossing and all of that process? And if there are complications there, that it gets stuck with other shipments.
Yeah, so I thought you were talking about drop shipping what Amazon orders. Like, yeah, I would not recommend that whatsoever. When it comes, I think what you're asking about is MCF, multi-channel fulfillment, from Amazon Canada or to Amazon US, or I mean any channel from, and it comes from Amazon's inventory. So yeah, they don't take care of the paperwork regardless. Like if you have, let's say in the US, a customer purchases a product A and you're shipping it from your Amazon.ca inventory, when it goes through the border, like it doesn't matter who the channel, what channel it came from. Like 1-2 units, maybe you can get away with it. I'm not like 100% sure. Like I would still be very careful with the paperwork. Maybe 1-2 units is not a big deal, but if you're doing a regular export in this manner, yeah, it's gonna trigger at some point definitely a trail. Like they're gonna ask you for paperwork.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
And it's about volume too, right? If you do like
yeah, yeah,
100 units a month, it's a lot. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
Makes sense.
Well, thank you so much, Aram and Saad. I want to be mindful of time. And lastly, I want to thank you both for this amazing presentation. One ask as a listener here is, before I let you go, what are 3 trends or niches that you would actually tell us and the audience, which you have seen from your research and experience that is growing big on e-commerce? And just a takeaway, a homework for people to, look into, like top
Yeah.
3 segments or trends that you're seeing on e-commerce.
For sure, I would love to talk about that. So, number one thing I've seen, especially with the current landscape, with everything going on, e-commerce is growing really fast. So I don't want to like get too much into politics, but like with the war going on in the Middle East, that has increased the gas prices a lot. And when that happens, people don't want to go out. People don't want to go into a store. They want to just shop online because it costs a lot of money to drive around with the high gas prices. And I think as we see more and more of these situations happening, people are getting more into e-commerce. Canada has a growing immigration population. People are coming in from all countries, and our geography is also very spread out. Like in the GTA, it's okay. Like I live very close to a store, but people, if you go up north, Tobermory area, if you go to the countryside, county side, there's no stores ever. Like people are shopping online a lot, so I think that's gonna continue. E-commerce is also very environmental friendly, right? Instead of you going back and forth from a store, spending gas, spending your time lining up, you can order online. It comes to you, and you're saving. You're not hurting the environment. So people that are very environmental friendly, they like it. That's the number one trend. Maybe Saad can add like a few he's notices.
Yeah, just to add, like when you go to Walmart nowadays, you probably see sections where they have like products from Pakistan or India, and it's become very like commonplace now for international products to be in big box retail. But now we're kind of seeing this trend on like Amazon specifically a lot more. Like we're finding like some of our new suppliers are like from Japan and internationally they're sending products and getting products, and we're seeing more of that. So I think we'll see a lot more of international products on these platforms just to cater to people that are coming into this country, like you're saying, like the immigration. There's people that are now looking on Amazon for like papri or whatever, and now we're finding it. So I think right now is one of the best times to take that risk of, hey, like I know people want this out there. Like earlier, I was searching for rules because I was like, I wonder if rules is on Amazon. You know what I mean? And I don't think it'll take too long before some of these products are out there. So it takes that risk. It takes that little bit of ingenuity to be like, hey, I think people want this, and to do it, and you might be the person that can do it. And the barrier to entry is a lot lower, I think, with the resources out there. Another thing I was going to ask is, like, I think people that are very unfamiliar to e-commerce might be able to still be able to do it just because of the vast amount of information and being able to use AI to kind of build checklists or give you the best tips or best practices. I think that stuff is coming. And another thing I was going to add is, like, I think people are becoming a little bit more aware of what they're consuming. So I would say, like, when you're looking online, like, people are looking at reviews more. People are looking at the history of a product. People are even looking at who's the manufacturer. I know there's like a lot of stuff about the war, like Arhem was saying earlier. It's like people are boycotting companies that are supporting Israel or whatever, right? So like customers are more aware where their products are coming from. So yeah, just like having that in mind, knowing that there's a huge marketplace, there's enough space for everybody, and there's no better time to start than today, right?
Absolutely. And what a great note to end this session. Thank you so much, Saad. Thank you, Aram, for your time
Thank
and
you.
the
Yeah,
great insight.
no problem.
And inshallah, I'll be sharing this recording soon, and we'll be putting this up on our website for everyone to see. And yeah, if there are any questions that come our way, we'll be happy to share them and get them connected to you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so
perfect.
much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you
Thank
guys, and
you.
thank you very much for organizing all of this. You guys are great thought leaders and community enthusiasts. So we're very, very happy to see that ourselves.
No, right back at you. Right back. Keep
Thank
doing
you.
Thanks,
great things.
guys.
All right.
Have a great day,
Allah
guys. Bye
Hafiz.
bye.
Allah
Jalal
Hafiz.
Hafiz.
God Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.
Thank you.